This week, we're going to take a look at globalization and how we approach globalization as managers. Globalization is really nothing new. We've been dealing with this for centuries, but now, thanks to technology, globalization happens at a much faster rate. You think about communication technologies, our ability to deliver products close to instantaneously, and the reach of companies is much farther than it ever was in the past. Transportation times are cut down to seconds from what used to be months to deliver. In our reading material, there's a chapter which gives you a broad overview of some of the issues that managers need to think about in globalization. One in particular I would draw your attention to is why U.S.-based managers fail in international postings. It's at the end of the chapter. I think it provides an interesting perspective on some of the pitfalls that we need to avoid. There are two articles presented on the countries known as BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China. Later, South Africa was added to the list, but it's somewhat of a minor player. These are countries that had rapidly growing economies in terms of measured by their GDP, and they play an oversized impact on the global economy. Think how much U.S. companies are dependent on growth in China to fuel their domestic growth of stock prices. And as China's economy is starting to slow, the impact that's having on U.S. firms. So the initial article is the one that actually coined the term BRICS, and that was something created by a gentleman at Goldman Sachs named Jim O'Neill. The second paper is an interview with him some 13 years later as he was preparing to retire from Goldman Sachs on his view on the BRICS, as well as introducing the MIST companies, Mexico, Indonesia, South Korea, and Turkey, which they believe to be potentially the next set of emerging economies. I think some of the activity in the Middle East has probably slowed that for Turkey, but those are still rapidly growing emerging economies. The other issue I want to bring out and have us think about in terms of globalization is the impact that it has on people around the world. And that's represented in the last two articles presented for you, Reaching the World's Poorest Consumers, and then also How to Avoid the Pitfalls of Innovation in Emerging Markets. And they present two different perspectives. One is looking at it from Indian companies operating with India and Asia in general, and then U.S. companies trying to reach the poorest consumers in America, and the impact that globalization has on lifting people out of poverty. And so those are our three kind of different themes we have in the topic of globalization this week. On Tuesday, we will have our phone call to discuss the second case, and we will do that through Canvas, and that information is being sent out through the email. So I look forward to talking to y'all on Tuesday. Thanks. Have a great week.